We pick up from where we last left off with Amanda Waller addressing the world in a very "I told you so" speech about the alien threat of Superman and Supergirl. She introduces a new human defense corps and vows to retaliate if Superman ever comes back to Earth, as the masses watch, while being confused and feeling anxious. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Lois are watching this all unfold on TV and getting increasingly anxious since Superman is kidnapped and needs saving. Lois is especially conflicted since she recently broke up with him. But despite all that, Lois comes up with the crazy idea to steal a spaceship from Star Labs with the help of Livewire so they could save Superman. And although Jimmy was against the idea at first, he caves in when he sees how affected Lois is. Lois Lane and Jimmy visit Livewire and Heatwave's home. They talk to her and offer her an insane amount of money so she could even begin to think about helping them. Heatwave is angry that Livewire is even considering this job. She vents about how Livewire always does that, right before she leaves the house, and quite possibly breaking up with her. The trio start working on a plan, and Livewire says that they need more people. Jimmy responds by inviting Mala the gorilla and the Brain. They tell them all about their multiversal adventures, but now they are here to save their friend. They all gather around and come up with an Ocean's 11-esque plan to infiltrate Star Labs and take the spaceship. Livewire tells them that there has to be a backup plan where they use violence, but Jimmy outright refuses. And when Lois suggests using a piece of kryptonite that she keeps hidden to attack Kara when they get to Superman, Jimmy unloads on her, and they argue. Things immediately don't go according to plan because Amanda Waller and Agent Slade show up uninvited to tour the Star Labs. The gang then waits for the security guard to leave his shift so they could sneak in as planned, but the man is not budging and keeps stuffing his face with donuts. Livewire gets ready to attack and go to Plan B, but Jimmy immediately improvises and goes to meet the security guard as if he was a new hire. Jimmy actually manages to dupe the security guard into leaving, and the gang infiltrates the place successfully. Meanwhile, Amanda Waller somehow looks at the security cameras during her meeting with Lex Luthor, and she quickly figures out that they are having a security breach before sending out Slade to take care of it. Before Slade gathers up the Waller goons and immediately attacks the Lois Lane squad, Mullah and the Brain split from the gang to go and steal gadgets for their own little science project. Livewire manages to hold Slade off as they escape. The facility activates security doors, however, and Livewire chooses to use her powers and escape, instead of staying and helping Lois and the squad. Lois and Jimmy are shocked, but they manage to escape as well, through the vents. Jimmy explains to Lois how Kara is not a bad person, but she just had no one like Superman did with them. They reach the spaceship and find it in an awful state. Lois breaks down crying because this was her only chance to make things right and get back with Superman after saving him. Mullah and the Brain show up suddenly, with equipment and gadgets to help fix the ship as they express how beautiful Lois's emotions are towards Superman. The squad gets attacked by security bots and everyone runs into the ship for cover. Mullah and the Brain fix the ship just in the nick of time to blast off without the robots getting to them or damaging the ship. But just as the ship was blasting off, a bunch of huge robots cling onto the ship and prepare to kill Lois and the squad, only for them to all be blasted off by none other than a remorseful Livewire, accompanied by her girlfriend Heatwave. They take care of the robots and tell Lois that the actual plan was for them to take the fall, while Livewire and Heatwave steal Amanda Waller's armory. But when they heard Lois crying about Superman, they thought it was best to help a girl trying to reunite with her true love. In the aftermath, Waller thinks Lex Luthor's robots did a good enough job to warrant giving him more and more resources. Luthor rubs it in the face of Slade. Meanwhile, the Lois squad uses the warp drive of the spaceship to get to Superman's location, but they are stopped in their tracks by none other than Kara herself. After the kidnapping incident of Superman, the robot shows him a trap, but more like trapping Superman in his Kryptonian subconscious. Superman threatens him that he will destroy him and take Supergirl with him, but he immediately attacks Superman with a flashback of Livewire's first battle with him. The robot intends to find Superman's weakness to end him. Back to Supergirl meeting up with the spaceship including Lois, Jimmy, Mala the gorilla, and the Brain. They seem confused by her presence, as Lois angrily asks her where she kept Clark. Jimmy has another opinion. He clearly likes her, but the rest are watching this cute interaction. But Lois needs to know where Clark is and accuses her of kidnapping Clark. But Kara's comeback was brutal, as she states to Lois that she is the one who broke his heart and broke up with him. However, Lois assures her that she will make things right. Kara, on the other hand, explains to them what happened and how it all went wrong. Back to Superman. Struggling in his own subconscious, it seems that the same situation is being played over and over again. However, Superman defeats the situation, and the robot decides to take him to the next week's situation, but notices a voice from afar. Lois and Jimmy. They are definitely Clark's weakness. To the next situation, where it also involves Lois and Jimmy. Superman tries to attack the robot, but he asks him what these people meant for him. Now, he is going to use them against him. Back to Lois, Jimmy, Kara, and the rest. Kara tries to explain to them where he is being held captive. Lois interrupts her to hurry up and takes them there. It seems that Kara keeps excluding Lois from their conversation. However, they face a bigger spaceship and then enter it in order to find Clark, but they find robots instead, but switched off. Back to Superman being manipulated by the robot and his weaknesses. The robot states that he is not trying to hide them from danger, but rather from himself. But Superman fights back and states that he is not weak, but rather cares for his friends. Back to Lois and Jimmy. They found the observation deck but can't find Clark. However, several robots are chasing them. Kara finally finds Clark and asks her so-called father what he is doing, but it scolds her and calls her disappointment and not a true Kryptonian, and even repeats her pathetic words that she always uses. Then he showed her what he did to her, brainwashing and even wiping her entire memory, but she decides she won't let him manipulate her again and fights him. However, in Superman's mind, he is trying to fight back and resist the robot, and successfully manages to defeat him and leaves the trap safely. Superman shows him their moments before, trying to convince him that this was all real, but he keeps twisting every memory to be able to manipulate him completely, and shows him the final meeting between him and Lois, where they broke up because she thinks she is not fit for him. Kara and Clark successfully destroy the robot and win against him. Superman tries to run to his father and mother, but finds his real family, not the one from Earth, and it was only a flashback. And now Superman turned into one of the invaders. The robot went into his body. Lois and Jimmy are still being chased by the robots by the Find. Kara fainted on the floor, and Clark possessed by the robot. As he was trying to attack them, Kara stood against him, but ends up being thrown away and severely attacked. She is standing no chance against him, and Jimmy tries to save them, while exposing him to the stone, but it does nothing to him, and villain Superman throws them out of the ship and takes the sphere. Luckily, the gorilla saves them and takes them inside their ship, but Lois is also hit with the same thing that affected Superman. These two episodes were packed with action, suspense, and emotional depth, making it a thrilling watch. Lois Lane's determination to save Superman adds a strong emotional core to the story, especially with her complex feelings after their breakup. The team dynamics, especially with Livewire and Heatwave, bring an unpredictable and exciting element to the rescue mission. As for the second episode, Kara's confrontation with Lois about Clark's heartbreak adds another layer of drama that makes the stakes feel personal. The ending twist with Superman being possessed by the robot sets up an intense and emotional conflict for the next episode. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me, what do you think of these two episodes? Would you trust Kara or Lois more in this situation? If you were in Jimmy's shoes, would you go along with Lois's risky plan? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.